It's a great day. My name is Shay Brown, the Happy Entrepreneur, and welcome to the Happy Entrepreneur Show, the #1 business development and revenue-focused late-night show in the country where we're on a mission. And our mission really is to empower, our mission is to inspire, and our mission at the end of the day is to provide you, that's right, you, the hard-working entrepreneur, with all of the resources that are necessary to execute that big vision you have for the people you were called to serve. In this episode, we have the one and only Grant. He's in the building, but he'll be talking about something interesting. He'll be talking about the wealth identity shift, so about really wealth. And secondly, leadership. Okay, I understand that. He got mindset. I understand that, but he gonna mix sales in there? I can't wait to see how he brings all that together. But anyway, what's going on, Grant? How you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for having me today.
Thanks for being here, man. Before we get started about your background, how famous you are, and all the wonderful things you've done in the world, let's take a moment because you're talking about the wealth identity shift. And my question to you, which may be a little unfair, but I think it's a reasonable question, that is, in today's world, why do you think folks are still struggling to understand wealth? Number one, what it is, and secondly, how they can really be financially free. So I guess the question is, what is wealth identity?
Well, we are living in a time where wealth is all around us, abundance is all around us. And a lot of people do not know how to tap into that. And there's one simple reason why. Most of the population, 98% of the population, is in what we call a survival mode, a survival identity. So what that means is they are going from paycheck to paycheck. They are working 9 to 5s, and they're struggling right now. So that is what we call the survival identity. And a lot of people, that's just the way they are. And they have these dreams and aspirations to get to the wealth identity, but they don't know how. So there's a lot of information out there on survival identity and the wealth identity. This has been back in the 1800s, this problem has been going on. But do you ever realize that the 2% of the population, those with the most wealth or with some of the wealth, that most of them start off in the survival in the survival identity. If you look at several of the big people that we watch on TV in our community, they all start off in the survival, and they programmed themselves. They got out of that survival identity, and they consistently transformed themselves into the wealth identity. And that survival identity, then again, is who you hang out with, is who you proximity with, and a lot of people are in that 98% and doing that survival identity.
Well said, man. Well said. And, you're someone who went from, I'll say, humble beginnings to building a multi-million-dollar success. And I'm curious, before we get into your whole backstory, you talk about mindset a little bit. What was your belief? I'll say that. What was your belief? What was your mindset when you was at your lowest point? How did you hold the belief that one day you could turn it all around, that one day it would be different? And I ask that question because there's someone right now that might be where you were at one point, and they're watching this and they're curious, like, man, what did he think day to day? What thoughts did he tell himself? So my question is, what were some of your beliefs? What was your mindset when you was at your lowest point, when you could have given up?
And that's probably a fair question and a very, very good question. So what I was able to do is I surrounded myself around winners. Even at my lowest point, I always seemed to be around people that were doing better than me. And even though I had this internal struggle, I always looked to say, if he can do it, I could do it. And so even at my lowest point, I always looked at the people that were around me, and as they were accomplishing big things and doing big things with their lives, I thought, well, I always kept that thought in my mind: if they could do it, I could do it. And I was struggling with these inner beliefs, these inner beliefs that tell me different, but I kept on believing if he could do it, I could do it, and that was my grounding. And today it's still my grounding. If he can make $250 million or 100 million or whatever that number is, no matter where I'm at, I can do it. So that's what's really kept me grounded in my belief level.
That is powerful, man. Thanks for sharing. I want to slow down for a moment because you've been talking about wealth, you've been talking about mindset, you've been talking about holding the belief, you've been talking about surrounding yourself with other folks. But some folks, Grant, are meeting you for the very, very first time. They're saying, Shay, I see this guy, Grant Winstead. I'm in the kitchen right now. He's making sense when he's talking, but I don't know him. I didn't Google the guy. I didn't look him up. Someone might be in the gym right now working out, listening to us. Thank you so much. We appreciate every one of you who tune in. You have a lot of choices and you're with us, so thank you. So I'm going to ask Grant if he'll slow down and tell us a little about his backstory. Where did he get started? And then what was his journey to being the person that he is today? So the question, Grant, is take a moment to tell people, who are you? And what's your backstory, man?
Well, I come from a little town in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, 30 miles outside the city. It wasn't really quite country, but it was country. And I come from a family of eight. So it was a working class neighborhood. Houses were extremely close together. We knew our neighbors and whatnot. And so that's where I got my start. That's where I was raised at, a small town. Um, uh, I'm kind of lost for words now, but a small town. Graduated high school, was able to play football, baseball, was involved in those activities. And then I went down to the big city with no education, and I met another African American that was actually making money. And back then, I had nothing going for myself. And he said, if you work for me, I'll teach you how to make money. And long story short, I went to work with him, going door to door for the home improvements, and I haven't looked back since. Rose up from a door to door canvasser, went through the whole industry, got involved into the Jewish community, in the Italian community, um, uh, those different cultures. I found mentors in those communities that were able to see my talent where I couldn't see it. And so I've been in the home improvement business, and I became a canvasser, knocked on over 30,000 doors in my career. Then became a salesperson, closing deals on a one call close. A one call close is when you go into a house, you only got one chance to get them. And I was able to do that. And then I went into management, and then I was able to grow my business.
Congratulations, man. By the way, one call closed, going in and serving people, powerful. Sales is, I believe, the fastest way to financial freedom for a number of folks. At least entrepreneurship is, and that leads me to another question here, which is sales can be difficult for many business owners. To the business owners is watching now that thinks that sales is something that you got to manipulate people or make them do what they don't want to do. Give us your definition of sales and give us your definition of how you can take sales and still serve other folks. I like how you said you went in there and did a one call close, but you didn't say you went in there and manipulated anybody. You didn't say you went in there and tried to make them do what they didn't want to do. So here's the question directly. Sales to many entrepreneurs is very scary and frightful. What would you say to the entrepreneur that has been struggling because they hate sales and they think it's something that they don't be seen as doing? What would you say to that group of folks right now?
Well, if you're an entrepreneur and you're running your own business, you almost have to sell. And so in the home improvement industry, which is dominated by white Caucasian men that are over the age of 50, and all started in very humble beginnings like me. I was able to watch them use this 10-step methodology, and I was able to take that 10-step methodology as they were teaching it and apply it. And so it can be a unlevel playing field, but the methodology is designed to that you can follow, that you can close the deal. So you have the if you know where you're going, like a GPS system, and if you know the footprint and you know where you're heading, it's easier when you have a methodology. So we have a 10-step methodology that is the industry, and some of the biggest corporations, home improvement corporations in the country use the 10-step methodology. And most car dealerships use them, home improvement companies use them. And so the methodology, the 10 steps, teaches you that the customer is the most important thing in front of you. So there's really no manipulation. We start from the preparation, we go the whole way to the need assessment when you're in the house. Then we talk about the pre-close, the close, and the button up. So if you're following the methodology that's been going on long, they were doing this long before I was even born, and I'm 63 years old. So one of the founders that developed this methodology that we use is 97, and last week we honored him. So if you find the right methodology, which everybody wants to be sold and everybody wants to sell, but you got to have the right methodology to do your business, and we just happen to have the right methodology in our industry.
I love it, man. You have a heart to give and a heart to serve, and it's a good segue to a segment we have here called Today is My January 1st. Now, for those folks who tune in every night at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, you know what we're about to do. In fact, if you want, you can go ahead and say those magical words. Maybe you've been waiting to say those words. Today is my January 1st. Happy New Year to you, by the way. And for all the other folks who are joining for the very first time, today is my January 1st is our personal mantra at the Happy Entrepreneur Show. It represents a fresh start. It represents a do-over. It means our past, no matter how dark and gloomy that past is, or how bright and sunny that past is back there, the past really does no longer equal the future. And so my question for Grant on the other side, one of my questions I love to hear is, when you hear the words, Grant, today is my January 1st, what do you hear? What do you hear? And number two, what was a time that you had to step back, that there was a challenge? Maybe life's been perfect. We'll figure that out in a moment. And things didn't go the way they should go. And how did you turn it around, man?
Well, for me, every day is January 1st because you get a new start, not at the end of the 12 months, but at the end of the 12 hours. So every day for me is a now moment. To answer your question as far as um, January 1st and what that means to me, in 2000, I found myself upside down. I was in a lot of debt. Marriage was going wrong. Relationships were going south, and I was making a lot of money, but I was focusing on the wrong things. I was focusing on the outward things. And 10 years before that, one of my first mentors gave me this tape called Lead the Field. It was being read, it was by Earl Nightingale, and that was my first exposure to personal development. And so he gave me this, and even though I was indoctrinated into that information, I wasn't living it. And so what happened is if you're focusing on the outside, the car, the wife, the house, the children, and not focusing on yourself, that's where I ran into my problems. I put everything on what we call a someday island, or what I call the waiting room. I'll wait till one day to take care of myself. I'll wait till one day to do this. I'll take care of them first and put myself on the back burner. Well, that was one of the biggest mistakes that I made, because when I woke up, I was literally sick, unhealthy, and very, very almost broke. So I had to change it. I had to change, or I was going to die, so to speak. And I knew I had the talent. I just didn't know how to do it. And I'm a spiritual man, so I was going to church, but church wasn't really showing me. The preacher gets up on stage, and he may be. I mean, I love preachers, but they really don't tell you how to do it. So I have to go through the science aspect of it. And when I went to the science aspect of what's going on, because men have studied success, that's where I found my true success. That's when I start focusing on me. And so I focus on three things in my life. I focus on my relationship with self. That's really important. I focus on my health and wellness. I go to the gym as much as I can, at least 3, 4 days a week now. And I focus on my finances. And when I focus on those three things, my income began to jump up past to where I was at prior to the you can call it a fall, you can call it the setback, but I was pretty low back then. And so that is basically what happened. And now for over 20 years, I have been studying this stuff. It's a science to it. And so that's what I do every day. I hope that makes sense to your audience.
Man, it is well said. It's been an honor and a privilege to have this interview. I know we were behind the scenes and you were talking about how you've been watching the show for a number of years, and I'm so happy to have you on the other side, man, sharing your knowledge, sharing your expertise, and sharing a way for folks to create not only financial freedom for themselves, but for their family. And that's important in the community that already surrounds them. Sometimes people say they want to change the world, and I think that's important. But man, imagine changing your family's lives. Imagine changing just the community you're in around and making that a better place. It's a good start, by the way. It's a good start. So as we come down the home stretch, Grant, if we can, take a moment, a two-part question. Number one, what type of clients are you looking to work with these days, if any? And number two, how can folks connect with you? How can they follow up with you? How can they stay in this conversation? Is there a website? Is there something they can do so they can learn more about you, man?
Oh, thank you. So I'm always taking clients. Helping people is my passion right now. And I just want to clarify what mindset is, because mindset is a word that's been thrown around, and a lot of people don't know what mindset is. So mindset is basically four different elements to mindset to that what I teach and what I coach on. I coach on giving you better thoughts, because the thoughts we can control. And then I teach you how to get better feelings, because if you get the right thoughts, you're going to get better feelings. And then after you get the better feelings, you're going to get better action. And once you get that action going, you're going to get better results in your life. And those three areas which I call the trifecta, those three areas which I speak about. So, but yeah, you can find me and I take any entrepreneurs, salespeople, leaders, people that really want to know how to get from point A to where they're at to where they really want to go. And so you can find me at www. Grant Winstead. That's Coach Grant Winstead .com.
Let me say thanks so much for being on the Happy Entrepreneur Show, man. I appreciate it. It's been an honor and a privilege. Keep changing the world. Thank you to viewers. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being part of the Happy Entrepreneur Show. We appreciate it. Never get tired of reminding you every night at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, no matter what's going on in your life, whether you're doing really, really well and you're going to that next level of success, or you've been hit with the punch that you never saw coming. The one thing I do believe is that today is your January 1st. And because of just that one reason alone, I believe your best is still yet to come. Your best is yet to come. Your best is yet to come. With that being said, God bless. Thank you so much, and we'll see you soon. Bye-bye, Grant. Peace, everybody.